And hello. This is Lady Lou, the baby boomer babe, coming to you live on Facebook and YouTube right now, 2 o'clock Central Time. And it's a special show, as you might have guessed. You've seen some of our little Facebook ads and such. We have a marvelous, marvelous man with us today. But let me introduce first Marian LaSalle. She is our chief co-host and computer expert. Say hello, Marian.
Hello, Marian.
We love to laugh, I guess you noticed. And our special, special guest host today on our daily reset for success is not only the Dr. Joe Vitale, but it is the Dr. Vitale. Hi, Joe.
Hi, ladies. How are you?
Great. Oh, we're so great and so thrilled to have you on our show. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Oh, and I love your shirt. You like mine?
Your shirt is a collector's item. Only a handful of people have an Attract Money Now shirt.
I know. We got it about 3 years ago. We volunteered to help Joe with one of his seminars, Attract Money Now. And we just love it. And I had to go dig it out. I have it in a special place so it won't get disturbed and get dirty, because I'm not going to let it get dirty.
Thanks for putting it on for this moment. I appreciate that.
You bet, because we just adore you and everything you do. You've written 80 books or more. Is it more now than 80?
Well, I do have another one since the last time you and I talked. So maybe 80 or 81. I've lost count. I don't count the books. I just write them.
Just write them. I love it. Yeah, because I met Joe. I counted it up, Joe, either 92 or 93. So that would make it about 28 years ago.
Wow.
You were teaching a class at Leisure Learning in Houston on how to write books. I showed up one time and we became friends from then on. And I don't know how that happened, but it was chemistry, I guess. And you and I have stayed in touch all these years. And I followed you from being almost homeless. You had an old beat up car. You had, I guess, an apartment at that point, you and your wife. And I've watched you go from that to the lifestyle of the rich and famous, as you call it.
Louise, what I want to say publicly is that you have been one of the early supporters in my life who believed in me before I believed in me. Oh. I still remember after that early leisure learning class in Houston in the early 90s, mid 1990s, you wanted to meet with me, and you did. We met at a salad place in South Houston. I remember it. Uh-huh. And you said you believed in me and you wanted to sponsor an event that I would speak at. You said you didn't have much money, but you would use it to promote the event because you believed in me and you wanted me to get out there in a bigger way. And I wasn't ready for it. I remember being so moved by your generosity. You probably don't even remember the moment or the day or the offer, but it was a turning point in my life. I mean, I can get teary-eyed just remembering this, because I've often said what we need in life is somebody who believes in us more than we do until we get to that point and we have some belief and confidence and momentum. You were the guardian angel in my life almost 30 years ago. So when you said, hey, would you come on to be interviewed by me and Marian? It's like, that's a no-brainer. I will drop everything to be here for you just to say thank you publicly for your golden soul. And
now I'm teary-eyed.
Well, it's a true story. I mean, this is really true.
Well, I love it because you spread that love around. You have affected so many people's lives since that day. You know, it's like, you know, you're giving back because Louise did the same thing to me. I remember meeting her one day at a networking event. She had a crown on her head and a great big old spider on her back. And I thought, wow, that lady, I got to meet her, you know. And basically, you know, she did the same thing. She said, you know, you gotta get out there. You've got something you need to share. And so she believes in people and she likes to help them get started and to get them rolling. And then it's our job to like pass it on, right? And you have done a really good job at that. I love everything that you do. And you have a
thank
lot of fans. We have one right here in the audience, Ann Seltzer, saying, "Love you, Joe."
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I don't even know what to say.
Oh. Well, I told Joe before we came on the air that I had some surprises for him, and it's going to be nostalgia. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, turbocharger writing. That
Remember?
was,
It's a
do I
little bitty
remember?
book. That was
That is, I remember all right. That was like 1990, if not 1991, somewhere in there. And that was a 16-page little booklet.
a
But
little bitty.
it was a turning point in my life, though, because there was another friend who had taken a leisure learning class with me, and he ended up giving me a computer. My very first computer was an old PC that he was tired with. I learned how to write on it, and back then you had those little floppy disks, and you had to put the disk in, save, take the disk out. And once I learned how to use the computer and the word processor and the disk, I wrote a little book called Turbocharger Writing. And that is the little book. I had it printed. I gave copies out. It established me as a credible writer at that point in time. I remember Success Magazine did a little review of it. Lots of people bought it. I did classes called Turbocharger Writing, and it was that book that actually was the baby that evolved into hypnotic writing, which is the bigger book. I know you have. She's going through her library of books. Well, you've got the public. That was the Kinko's version of it that I printed when I taught a hypnotic writing class.
That's funny.
And then, yeah, I mean, my God, I got chills all over me. This is going back in history.
I bet.
This is like my autobiography or something.
Oh my God.
I knew we could do something fun.
I'm totally blown away here.
I took your prosperity class. I was just listening to Russell Brunson talk about your P.T. Barnum
stuff. Hi, I also wrote a book on P.T. Barnum back in '98. It was called "There's a Customer Born Every Minute." It was also a turning point in my life because I was in love with Barnum. I really researched it. The book got reprinted, I think, in 2006 or 7. It's still on Amazon today. You're talking about some of my really, that's the book. Louise has the Vitale library at her fingertips.
I've got one too. I love this one, Meet and Grow Rich.
Meet and Grow Rich is a book on masterminds. Yes. Bill Hibbler and I did that book together.
That's right,
Bill Hibbler. Mastermind. I'm still in masterminds. I love masterminds. I endorse masterminds. Mm-hmm. Marian, I think you're doing a mastermind on a regular basis. These are priceless tools.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Oh, are you ready for the next one, Joe?
No, I'm not ready. Bring it on. What do you got? Oh, my God, the joy of service. The joy of service was even before, oh my goodness. Joy of service was even before turbocharger writing. The joy of service. I'm going to tell you, I don't know that I ever said this publicly, but you know that I was homeless. You know that I was in poverty. You know that Marian and I were broke for a very long time. There was another man, the same man who gave me the computer, who introduced me to a wealthy businessman who wanted to write a book. And that wealthy businessman was Ron McCann. And Ron McCann ended up writing me the largest check of my life at that point in my career. It saved my butt. It helped me and Marian actually be established. It was like winning the lottery, but it was using my calling and my skill. I was an author. I was a co-author, and I wrote the book for Ron McCann, published the book for Ron McCann. And it, too, like your T-shirt, is a collectible at this point. Because I don't know where Ron McCann is. I don't know where Larry Andrews is, who introduced me to Ron McCann. And I don't know where that book is, except at your house.
At my house.
Yes.
I better put it in the safe.
You're going way back in time and bringing back some wild memories, beautiful memories.
Here's another one.
My life. Oh, spiritual marketing. How are you doing this? You found the cornerstone books.
Yeah, this one doesn't exist anymore.
No, the spiritual marketing was the little book that I almost didn't release because I was so embarrassed. I thought I was making a name for myself as a marketer, And suddenly I'm going to come out with a book that says spiritual marketing. And I thought I'd be laughed out of business. And yet what happened was the flip. People rushed to me. They wanted to deal with the spiritual marketer guy. And they loved that book. And that book ended up being published and retitled as The Attractor Factor. The Attractor Factor is the hands down, here it is, my #1 self-help book. And then what people may not know is The Attractor Factor is what got me invited to be in the movie The Secret. And being invited in the movie The Secret spun me into outer space in a whole new trajectory direction that I never saw and never expected. But you can trace it all the way back to the book you just held up, Spiritual Marketing, which I never thought I'd make a dime from, never thought anybody would like, never thought that it would get me any sort of positive reputation. Again, these were milestones. You're holding up the pivot points in my life.
Gosh, I hope you got him to sign those, Louise.
I don't think so. He wasn't famous back then.
Well, when we're allowed to be out of quarantine and see each other, we'll do that.
I'll bring him with me.
Yes.
But
You've blown me away. Jeez.
Yes, before you go on, Louise, let me share his newest thing that came from The Secret, okay?
Yes.
I'm really just so grateful that you came out with this new movie that was based on The Secret, and it was called Money, Love, Speed. And the new movie, right?
Yeah.
How
the new
thoughts
movie's called
become
How
things.
Thoughts Become Things.
I love it.
I do.
I
The
love
movie was superb.
We watched the movie last week, and the book is on its way.
Perfect. I love it. Joe, you just do the most fun things and help the most people.
I'm saying yes to the opportunities, yes to life, following my passion, following my life mission, and wishing everybody else would do the very same thing. You mentioned my book, and I wanted to say that the audio version and the ebook version are available for $2.
I got him.
At moneylovespeedbook.com.
Okay.
Moneylovespeedbook.com.
All right, we're going to have to do that. I love audiobooks, by the way.
She already has it. But I read the book, so those who want the audio and the ebook version, go to moneylovespeedbook.com. This version for $2, yeah.
$2.
This version is at Amazon for more. I think it's $20, but it's on Amazon as a printed book.
Yes.
And you know what? Since you guys are always surprising me, I have another book that came out after what you think is my recent book.
Oh, really?
This is The Art and Science of Results. And it just came out. It's a hardcover. It's 9 ways to get clear so you can accelerate your results and get faster to your goals and manifest them. This is on Amazon. I think the audio is on audible.com and on Amazon. But I wanted to surprise you, so I have another book.
Yeah,
How about that? You're ahead of us.
Right.
I think that's just so cool. And I'm sorry we do have a little bit of an echo, but we'll have to live with it. It's not too bad. But here's another little surprise for you, Joe.
All right.
This one is something that I have listened to so often, and it's audio cassette tapes, for heaven's sakes.
Wow.
And I still have an audio tape player. Remember this one?
The Power of Outrageous Marketing. Yeah, I do. It's another turning point. It was another pivot moment in my life. Yeah. That was around 1998. That was my first program with Nightingale Conant. I remember wanting to be a Nightingale. I wanted to be a Nightingale Conant author for 10 years. 10 years. And I finally was invited to go to the studio because of a man who believed in me. And I recorded that. It's still around, but not on cassette now. It's on download. It's on CD. And Nightingale is nightingale.com. I think Amazon sells it too. But The Power of Outrageous Marketing was another magic pivot moment in my life. People came to me because they heard that program and wanted to work with me. And it also gave me more confidence in myself because I was finally not only published now, but now published by an audio publisher that had published Zig Ziglar and Napoleon Hill and Earl Nightingale and all the greats that I admired. I was part of that roster. So again, you found another piece of gold.
Yeah. And here's another one.
Oh, she's got
The
another one. The
Missing
Missing Secret.
Oh, The Missing Secret. I recorded that after the movie The Secret came out. The movie The Secret came out in 2006, and a lot of people loved it, but there were some people who criticized it, saying it didn't always work.
Oh.
And I'm of the opinion that it always works if you know what you're doing. And so I recorded for Nightingale Conant their best-selling program. I have a note from the president saying The Missing Secret outsold all their audio programs, including the ones by Napoleon Hill and Earl Nightingale and everybody else. I still have that note. So it's again, you are finding the historic moments in my life. I'm in awe.
I wanted to make this show different from any of the others.
Good Lord, have you ever? Just being here with both of you. You've been volunteers at my events. You both have been supporters of me all these years. We go way back to my Houston days, and I spell those days D-A-Z-E, not D-A-Y-S. And I'm just grateful to be here. Thank you both.
Well, we're so thankful.
I have a question. I have a question for you. I listened to a lot of your audios and your interviews, and one of the quotes that I heard you say got me to thinking about how do you do this? So this is a quote from you: faith in ourselves and faith in the universe that's benevolent. And as you take these steps on your path to the way, your way is revealed to you. And I thought, okay, how do you have faith in yourself and faith in the universe to be able to take those first steps?
Yeah, wow, what a great question. Well, it begins with realizing that faith is the removal of doubt. Faith is a belief in something yet unseen. And we need to parallel that and keep in mind that when we worry, we have faith that things aren't going to work out. When we are in fear or we are in doubt, we have faith that things are going to be negative. So what I'm urging people to do is have the opposite of that kind of faith. If worry and fear still stem from belief and still stem from the unknown, then what about confidence and what about optimism? Both of those are unseen. They're yet undocumented. We don't know what the future is going to hold. So we can come from the faith in worry, or we can come from the faith in confidence, because we don't know which one's going to play out. So which one of those choices feels better? Which one of those choices gives us strength? Which one of those choices gives us the energy and the motivation and the inspiration to go forward? If we come from worry and fear, we're pretty much just going to lock down. We're just going to feel like we can't do anything. And what's the point of doing it anyway? Because it's not going to work out. But if we use the same mental mechanism, and instead of believing in the doubt and the worry, we start to believe in the possibility and the optimism, now we have hope. Now we have a reason to take action. Now we have motivation. Now we have inspiration. So I am urging people to realize they have a choice, and it's your free will. You can choose to believe in the negative. You can choose to believe in the positive. Which one's going to get you down the road? And then the other half of that is believing that the universe is on your side. And I know that when I was homeless, I didn't believe the universe was on my side. When I was in poverty, I didn't believe the universe was on my side. But now, as I sit here and I look back, it was always on my side. That's how I was able to get here. I wrote a song called The Great Something, and it's on an album called The Great Something. And the great something is referring to this invisible field. Some call it God. Some call it the divine. And it's that invisible field that is benevolent and intelligent and is watching your back, even when it doesn't feel like it is. So all of this is just coming together to say, look, if you want to get results in life, if you want to have a happy life, you want to have a healthier life, you got to have faith in yourself, and you got to have faith in the universe.
Yes.
Well, one of the things that I heard you say it was a very recent show that somebody had you on, and I heard you say, no matter what happens, there are no mistakes. You can see it as feedback. So I thought, okay, so I need to remember that when this crap is happening to me, that this is not a mistake. This is just feedback. I just need to remember that this is feedback for my next thing.
And that's exactly it. I think somebody had asked me about failure. And I'm at the point where I don't think there is anything called failure. We can certainly label certain results as failure, and then we have negative feelings about it. We might be critical of ourselves or other people. And that label doesn't really serve us. If we change failure to feedback, now we have it as information. Now it's data. Now it's more neutral. Now it's actually useful. Because if I try something and it doesn't work out the way I envisioned it, instead of saying, oh, that failed, I can say what actually did happen. Because what happened could be a sign from that benevolent universe to tweak my attempt. Or maybe instead of going through the front door, try going to the side door. It's an attempt, it's a reminder, it's a sign to do something else, to try something else. There might be $1 million, $1 billion business by going a slightly different approach because of the feedback. So if that's the case, was the feedback failure? No. It's just that we tried to go one way. It didn't quite go the way we imagined it, but it did go some way. And when we look at that some way it did go, what's the positive in it? What can we learn from it? How is it feedback, information, and data that we can use to take the next step, to move forward?
Oh. Thank you. Thank you. I am what they call the go-around queen. So I totally get where you're coming from. You know, if this block is there, don't just stay there. Or go around or go over or under.
Right. Yeah. I saw a quote the other day. I don't know who said it, but they said, if you find yourself going through hell, keep going. And then the follow-up line was, why would you stop if you were in hell? So if you're in hell, if you run a block, if you hit the block, keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah, I love that one. Gee, many Christmas. Well, Joe, let's talk a minute about the Oponopono. And you're wearing one of the shirts today.
I am. In fact, the shirt just arrived like 10 minutes before this show. I found it on Etsy and ordered it, and it arrived right before coming here. Yes, Zero Limit. You're holding up a first edition of it. That book came out around 2005, 2006. That's At Zero, which was the follow-up. That's the sequel that came out 10 years later. I'll tell you, Ho'oponopono was underground and unknown before I wrote those books. It was out there, and Dr. Hulen, who was the therapist who taught it to me, and he co-authored the first book, his seminars had maybe 15 people in them. Oh. After Zero Limits came out, there were 800 to 1,000 people in each seminar. Yes. And he would go to countries like Japan, and so many people wanted to be in the events, he would have to do 2 weekend events, and each one would have 1,000 people in it. Zero Limits described this Hawaiian healing method called Ho'oponopono. And in its simplest, most basic form, it's 4 phrases. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, which is actually what's on my shirt. It says, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And those 4 phrases are a kind of prayer or petition. So when something's going on in our life and we're not feeling happy, or we're feeling ill, or we've got blocks or snags or who knows what we do is we address ourselves to our connection to all that is, that great something, God, the divine, whatever you want to call it. And we're basically asking it to remove the problem. And the further insight is that the problem isn't out there. The problem's in here. It's always a problem of perception. And what we're doing in Ho'oponopono is cleaning up our perception. Our perception's based on beliefs. In Ho'oponopono, the beliefs are called data. And so I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, is a petition to our connection to God, if you will, to erase the limiting data in our brains that is connecting ourselves to the perceptions we're complaining about. And as we clean those perceptions, the outer reality will look like it's changing. And of course, the famous story that's in Zero Limits is how Dr. Hulen went to a mental hospital for the criminally insane and helped heal virtually all of them, not by working on them, but by working on his perceptions of those patients. As he worked on his perceptions of those patients, saying, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, not only did he get better, but they reflected his better health and they got better. These inmates who were shackled or sedated on a daily basis were not being shackled or sedated anymore. And slowly they started to be released back into society as healthy and normal. So the two books, Zero Limits in particular, and then later At Zero, tell this whole story. And I swear there is a movement around the planet. I get on airplanes and people will stop me and say, you're the Oponopono guy. I remember I was in Russia. I went to a music store in Moscow and I wanted to see some unique Russian instruments. And a salesman was walking me across the room and he kept staring at me. He didn't speak English. He was staring at me and we're walking right shoulder to shoulder. And then he looks at me and he goes, Oponopono. Zero Limits, Oponopono. It's been touching lives everywhere. And I'm simply the author of the book. I didn't invent it. I didn't do anything but write the book and promote the books. So I'm pleased to see it. And I do Oponopono every day. I
caught myself saying, please forgive me. I love you today in the kitchen. I didn't even know why. I was just saying it. I thought, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question for you, Joe, and maybe I'm talking out of school here, so forgive me. Whatever happened to that fifth phrase that you taught us in another seminar a few years ago?
That's a wonderful question. The fifth phrase is going to be in a book called The Fifth Phrase. I just finished it. It'll be out later in the year. It might already be listed on Amazon as a forthcoming book. But I created a whole book around the fifth phrase. And you're on the inside because you were there when the inspiration came to me at the Advanced Ho'oponopono retreat that you and Marian were at. And so wonderful that you guys were there and you helped out and everything. But the idea was I received the fifth phrase, I revealed it there, and the people there have been using it. So we've had the four phrases, now we have the fifth phrase, and there will be a book called The Fifth Phrase.
Tell us what it is. Or can you say it right now?
I can, but when I first say it, this is why it needs a book. It needs an explanation. I'll say it and then I'll try to explain it here. I forgives myself. I forgives myself. And why it needs explained is that it's not about forgiving yourself. The I does not refer to you. The I refers to the divine. Sometimes Dr. Hulen would end his emails, peace of I. And peace of I means have the peace within you of the cosmos, of divinity. So I forgives myself means the divine forgives, and myself is referring to the little self, not your spiritual self, but like the subconscious data bank within you. So the divine forgives your programming is another way to explain it. And again, this is why I have a whole book to explain I forgives myself.
I love
the fifth
that.
phrase all by itself. One of the people who was at the event, Michelle Barr, heard me describe I forgives myself. And she said, with the fifth phrase, you don't really need the other four anymore.
Oh.
And I said, that's actually true. If you really understand that the divine is forgiving everything completely, there's no reason to say the other four phrases. That's how powerful the fifth phrase is.
Oh, boy. Well, Joe, I have not told you this, but when I repeat the five phrases, I have taken it upon myself, if you will, to add a sixth one.
Oh, no.
Here we go. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I forgives me, or whatever you said. How did you say I forgives
myself?
Okay. I am loved. It ties it up in a little bow.
Yeah, I love it. I am loved. One time Dr. Hulen, this is decades ago, went walking and he came back from his walk and he had tears in his eyes. And he said to everybody, he said, the divine just wants you to know that you're loved.
Perfect.
The divine just wants you to know that you are loved.
Oh, we're going to have another book.
Your statement, yes, your statement ties in perfectly. We forget that. We're all in a search for love, but actually we're already loved.
Oh, just receive it. That's the beauty of it. Just receive
Right.
it from wherever it comes. Oh, I love that show. Oh, well, Marian, over to you. What have you got now?
I'm just wondering, you got more books? I see another
do.
pile there. Yeah,
I do.
I want to see more books.
Well, I don't know if you can even read that one.
I can't
No.
see it.
No, what does it say?
What does it say?
Well, let's see if I can open the front page. That might give us a little hint. Well, it's the hypnotic writing book that came in a 3-ring binder.
That's
Ah,
amazing. Yeah, those are the early versions. Hypnotic writing. And we were there when it happened, Ann says.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
here's one of your very, very early books.
Oh, yeah. That was around 1995.
Oh my
That was another
goodness.
pivot moment in my career. That book was for the American Marketing Association,
Wow.
the AMA Complete Guide to Small Business Advertising. And that book got me a lot of clients. It got me a lot of credibility. And the other thing that happened, and this is me being very transparent, is these milestones that you're holding up, they helped build my inner confidence in me. When I held that book and I realized I published it, I was so proud. I had done all the research on advertising, marketing, publicity. I ironed everything out. I whittled it down to formulas and processes. I put them all in that book, knowing it was going to help me. It was going to help other people. And in a way, it was kind of like a badge of honor. And there it is, signed there to you. I can't see what I wrote, but it's signed.
I can't either without my glasses. And you even put a little quote from me on the back.
On the back.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. You've got the original collection of books. What is this? Oh, you've got, wow. Oh, because I gave you the original manuscript to
my
review
God, Louise.
before the book was published.
And it's signed. You once told me that it'd make a lot of money on eBay, but you're not going to get this one out of my hands. This is my
Ann wants
baby.
to know where you're keeping all this stuff, Louise.
I
Right.
have a special bookcase for Vitale books.
My word. Jeez. You're amazing. You are just amazing.
God. You got any
Wow.
more over there? I see more.
You know, one of your books that I just absolutely adored when I first read it, and I read it again and again, is this cute little thing.
Life's Missing Instruction Manual. That I'm still proud of that book. You know, I was on a plane. I was on a plane a few years ago, and a guy recognized me, and he came over and said hello, introduced himself and such. And he said he buys copies of that book. He sticks a $100 bill hidden within it, and it gives them to kids who graduate from high school or college. And the idea is if they actually open the book and read it, they'll find a $100 bill. If they just take the book and stash it somewhere, they'll never know what they lost.
And then they'll give it away.
Book. It was that book, Life's Missing Instruction Manual, that he was giving out.
Oh, what a beautiful story.
Yeah, there's beautiful people in the world doing really wonderful things. Most of the time, we never hear about them. We don't know what they're doing. There may be other people buying my books or other books and giving them away. I don't know, but that was somebody I met on a plane.
Yeah.
And here's another nostalgia book.
The 7 Lost Secrets of Success. Man, I was on a mission. I researched that book. I was unknown. I was barely making any money, but I was obsessed with Bruce Barton, and I started doing research about him in 91, I think it was. And I was on buses. I had no money for cars. I had no money for planes. I was doing research by getting on buses and going places. And I ended up writing a book that, again, was a pivot point in my career. The 7 Lost Secrets of Success.
I've
Still
got
on Amazon.
one.
It's sold. There it is. Yeah,
I've
that's
got
an early
one. You probably
edition.
don't even remember writing part of this one, the Lone Star Media Leaders.
You know, the only reason I do remember is, didn't the fellow that helped put that together, didn't he just pass away?
He did.
That's why I know. I was so shocked. I'm sad to see him go.
That's true.
I was in Houston. And I spoke at Unity Church there, and he came up. He came up and told me that I had influenced him. I didn't know him. He said I had influenced him, and then a little later he told me about that book, and of course I agreed to be involved in it. But yeah, I forgot about it until I realized he had passed, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're so sad too. But here's another one. I know you love that book.
That book, Expect Miracles, was published in Canada, And that's the big claim. That's my slogan. I say it's behind me over here on the wall. Expect miracles. I'm trying to point to
Yeah. Oh, guess what, Louise? We're being called fangirls.
it.
I'm guilty.
I'm lucky. I love it. I accept.
And here's another one you and Craig Perrine
Yeah,
published.
inspired marketing again.
Craig.
Craig was in the mastermind with me, the same one Bill Hibbler was in. And a lot of people came out with books. Bill Hibbler and I did the book on masterminds, Meet and Grow Rich. And Craig and I did this one on inspired marketing.
Right.
So a lot of great stuff.
Right.
The key,
one of my favorites.
Yeah, the key. I'm very proud of the key. That came out after The Secret. And The Secret, of course, everybody wanted something that was related to The Secret. And one of the publishers said they wanted me to do a book like it. And I came up with The Key, which has ways of getting clear, ways of getting faster results by doing some processes internally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For those of you who are listening to this on podcast, I want you to know that you can go and check out Dr. Joe Vitale and all the things that we were talking about today, his new movies, his new books, some of his old books too, at VitaleLifeMastery.com. And for those of you who want more information, down below in the description, we have all the links for you, all done for you. So all you have to do is go and check it out.
Yeah.
You can probably tell that Lady Lou and I we'll go anywhere and do anything for Dr. Joe, because he's just a very genuine, kind, loving soul, and we're proud to be near him anytime we can.
Yes. Here's another one, Joe.
Another one.
Buying trances. Yeah, I love buying trances. I'm so proud of that. I subtitled it A New Psychology of Sales and Marketing, because that was back before The Secret came out, and I was still in my hypnotic writing, hypnotic marketing phase. And I knew that people are already in trances, like a hypnotic trance, but it's called a waking trance. And buying trances was talking about how do you enter that trance and how do you help them once you're there.
I lost that book in the flood,
stories.
In the Hurricane Harvey. That was the one book, and I loved it. I used to carry it around with me all the time.
Well, we'll get another copy to you, that's for sure.
Oh, and here's one you wrote with Jim Edwards.
That's a very early book. Yeah, How to Write and Publish Your Own ebook in 7 days. You know, that originally was an ebook, and it was the #1 selling ebook for almost 10 years.
Wow.
On ClickBank.
On ClickBank.
On ClickBank. It was the #1 selling digital ebook. Jim Edwards came to me. I had taught a class on how to write a book in 6 days for leisure learning back in Houston. And he came to me and said he wanted to turn it into an ebook, but he thought it'd be better if it said 7 days. And so whipped it into that book. And
I was sorry to see leisure learning close.
Did they close?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they sold out, and the new guy, I guess, wasn't.
Well, those were the days 20-some years ago.
That's it. Hypnotic writing. I missed that.
Yeah.
Hypnotic writing. I still love hypnotic writing.
I know. I miss it so
That book has
much.
helped more people.
Yeah.
They've told me they finally wrote. They wrote their books. They wrote stories. They wrote emails. It helped them break through.
Yes, that's me. That's my story. I love that book. As a matter of fact, I have something to say about that, because didn't Lady Lou meet you at one of your seminars where you were talking about writing a book? Do you know she still hasn't written a book? But I'm on her.
They're in my computer. They live in my computer, my books.
Well, it may be time to give birth.
Yes.
We're actually in the process of coming up with a book, aren't we, Lady Lou?
Yes. That gets published.
Excellent. Well, let me know how I can help when you're ready.
Oh, we'd love that, because I heard you, I think it was another interview I heard you doing recently, that people who hang around you end up writing their own books, including your dad. Tell us that story, would you?
Oh, I'd be glad to. Yeah, what I told them is that in the movie The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, there was the little kid in there who said, I see dead people. And I said, I see books in people. Anybody who hangs around me for any length of time is going to become an author. My own father, I made him an author when he was 90 years old. He never had any desire to be an author. I think he read 1 or 2 books in his life outside of those in school. But he used to tell the greatest stories. And I said, Dad, why don't you record some of your stories? And I bought him a cassette player because he didn't know what CDs or the audio, this or that, or computers were all about. But he understood a cassette player. So I bought him a cassette deck. I got him some 90-minute cassettes, showed him how to use the mic. And over about a year, he was taking care of my mother at the time. And so he would do his duty there. He'd still work out, but he'd go in the basement in Ohio and he would tell stories. And after a year, he sent me a box. And the box was the cassette player and 9 90-minute cassettes. And I thought, well, now what do I do? I gave the cassettes to a transcriptionist. She transcribed them. Then I gave the transcripts to an editor and said, put it into some sort of readable form. Then they gave it to me, and then I massaged it, wrote an intro to it. I hired somebody to make a cover for it. I went to Amazon, uploaded it for their print-on-demand services. I printed out a single copy, and on my father's 90th birthday, I went to Ohio. I sat at the table with him, and I said, Dad, do you remember that box you sent me with the cassettes? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I turned it into your autobiography. And I said, here it is. And it was the first time in my life I ever saw him speechless. And we filmed it. It's on YouTube. You can see 90-year-old author or man becomes author or whatever it's titled. He was red-faced. He was beyond moved. And me, I could never give him anything in my entire life. He was brought up in the Great Depression. He wouldn't accept gifts. He always dismissed everything that we might want to give him to thank him for our lives. But he accepted that gift. Yeah. And so I was able to win because I gave my father something that he never had.
Aww.
I actually even did an autograph party with him in my hometown at the library where I used to study. And he and I sat side by side signing copies of our books together for the people who came up. And on the way back, he thanked me. He said, I gave him a life at the age of 90 that he never thought he would have.
Aww.
I made him an author again when he was 91 and again when he was 92, and he passed away at 93. So anybody can be an author at any age.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Maybe we should close on that, Marian. That was such a beautiful story, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming today and hanging out with us. We're just thrilled.
You are guardian angels doing God's work for all of us. Thank you for being friends to me, supporters of me, and for inspiring everybody. Thank you. I love you both.
I love you too.
Bye for now. See you again soon.
Joe.
Bye.